What I want to get going on today is you, where you are at right now. Everybody is where you are at this very moment because of every decision you've made in your life. Every decision you've made in your life has brought you to exactly where you're at today. If you had changed any one decision, you wouldn't be here. So the easy thing is to say, if you like yourself, which I hope you do, the fact that you're here and you're looking for growth and mastery, you appreciate yourself, you respect yourself, you like yourself. That means that everything in the past, every decision you've made has been a good one, right? If we had to label them, I would say they're good because it brought you here. If it didn't bring you here, like you would be somewhere else. But every decision you made has brought you to where you are in life. You're a result of your decisions. You're a result of your habits. Now, that said, are you where you want to be? That's the question. Where do we want to be? Are you where you want to be? Are you on a journey and you're on your path of where you want to be? If you decided first who you want to be, are you on your path to becoming that person? Or are you asking yourself, how do I become that person? So we're going to talk about a few things today. One about decision making, making, you know what, I don't want to use better because that means it labels decisions good and bad, and they are what they are. You know, they're not good, they're not bad. You've made that decision. But I also want to talk about the predictability of making a decision in a way. So think about this. What do we fear most in life? The uncertainty of the future. If we had complete certainty of the future, there'd be no fear. If you had a crystal ball and you knew exactly what was happening, you wouldn't be afraid of it. We're actually afraid of the uncertainty. So, how do we change that? Well, the first thing we can do is make our future more predictable, right? The more predictable the future, the less uncertainty. Now, I'm not going to say you can erase all uncertainty. There's always going to be, and we need a balance of it. We need a little bit of that, a little flair in life. How boring would it be if there was none, right? Because that's where adventure happens. But let's get back to it. So, how do we make these decisions? How do we make it more predictable? Well, um, to start with, the easy thing is the greatest factor in a person's success in life, the greatest one factor is not their education. It's not their race. It's not their religion. It's not their privilege. It is not the wealth. It's not the family they were born in. It's not the country you were born in. It's not any of that. The greatest factor in a person's success in life is their ability to plan the future. That's it. It doesn't matter the money you have. It doesn't matter. Your ability to plan the future will have the greatest impact on your success. It will absolutely help your short-term decision making. Think about that for a second. If you had a long-term predictability, if you had a long-term goal, my goal is to be, I talk about fitness all the time, right? So health and fitness is a large part of my life. And I talk about it all the time. And I don't, I don't eat crap. I just don't. But that's an easy decision for me to make, not to eat crap, because I know even a little bit of crap doesn't bring me to where I want to be. I cannot remember the last time I had a potato chip. My gosh, it's been years. Why would I do that? You know, I don't eat a potato chip. I can't remember the last time I had a dish of ice cream. You know, I don't do that because my long-term goal is health and fitness. And none of that would bring me to health and fitness. So it's real easy to make a short-term decision based on your long-term perspective. right? That's the easiest thing to do, right? Would everyone agree to this point that if I didn't have my long-term perspective and I just want instant gratification, I'm digging into a bag of Cheetos because let's face it, they're delicious. I mean, I'm not going to deny, like, yeah, potato chips are pretty delicious. Man, and if you get some like chip dip or whatever, that makes it even better. So believe me, ice cream, love that stuff. I just don't eat it. Right? It's not healthy for me. It's the same way I don't eat gluten. I haven't had gluten in over 25 years. Not to say it's not delicious. So because I have a long-term goal, it's easier to make short-term decisions making. Now, when we don't have a long-term goal, our short-term decision making isn't so good, right? Because now we're thinking in a different sense. And I know I'm going to go in a couple different directions here because we're humans. We tend to avoid, right? Nobody, we have avoidance of the things that could harm us, right? We avoid what we're afraid of. Well, if we don't have a long-term goal and our brains are wired to avoid pain, avoid risk, avoid potential harm, well, where are we going to end up? Think about that. If I didn't have a long-term goal, I probably wouldn't have made a lot of investments I made. I would have been afraid to. That just a flat out, I would have been afraid to. Now, I mean, I've written some pretty big checks on a handshake that there's a time in my life I would have gone, oh no. But because I didn't have that long-term goal in place, my goal was greater than the risk. I know that I can overcome it. And when I say some big checks, I mean some big checks. Never a seven-figure check. I have not written one yet. Plenty of six-figure checks. So you make better decisions when you have a long term. When you have a short, when you don't, you make horrible decisions. You eat the potato chips. You eat the ice cream. You don't take the risk. You don't take the chances. You don't seize the opportunities because there's harm and we avoid. Now, let's go a little further. Is everyone with me so far? Does everyone see that? That if you don't have that in the future, and my drive for that is greater than any instant gratification. That's why I heard a person talk about it, and I thought it was a great thing. He talked about the 10K. And he said you make a decision to have a salad for lunch because you want to run a 10K. But if you don't, and what's the difference if you have one lunch of a salad or one lunch of a French fry? What's the real difference? One, is it going to make a difference? No, not one. But it's the mindset, because it's not going to be one, right? My goal is a 10K. I'm going to eat healthy. But if I go this way, there'll be a 10K also. That would be the weight I put on. So one way or another, I'm going to get to a 10K. Good decisions are bad. So I thought that was so funny when he brought up the 10K. Putting it on or running it? Which one do you want to do? So let's head in that direction. So we avoid, right, because we don't have a long-term goal in place. The second thing is when we do, we can make better decisions. So now I want to talk about a conversation I had last Thursday. I have a friend. I never talk about him, actually. I talk about Saul, right? You guys, some of you have met Saul. But I never talk about Edgar. I have a friend, Edgar, and I talk to Edgar once a week. And we talk on Thursdays, and we could talk for, I don't know, an hour, 3 hours, whatever. And he asked me a question the other day. And then, he's a great guy. He really, really great guy. I'll text him. I'm like, it's 5 a.m. You in the gym? He's like, of course I'm in the gym. Got here at 4:30. Um, and he asked me, he said, if a person wanted to change, if a person wanted to change their trajectory in life, we're on a path. So May 28th is coming of 2028, 2029. It's coming. You're gonna wake up that morning. Are you gonna be where you want to be? Because we're on a path right now, and it doesn't take long to spend time with the person to figure out their trajectory. Right? Show me your habits, I'll tell you where you're going to be in 5 years. Show me how you spend your money. I'm going to tell you exactly how you're going to be in 5 years. So Edgar said to me, what's the fastest thing you can do to change your trajectory? What can a person do today? And I think he already knew the answer, but we have these kind of conversations. And I laughed. I said, my gosh, that answer is so simple. And this changes my perspective of life. It's probably the one single thing that I did in my life to change my life the most. And I talk about it all the time if you guys listen. And I do it every single morning. And like you already should know what it is. I said, the single greatest thing a person could do is be grateful. That is it. That's the number one thing you could do to change your life the fastest, is be grateful. Be grateful for everything. You're blessed. You have everything you need right now. Every single thing you need in your life, you have. You have an abundance of it. You have more than you need. Most people don't recognize that. They look at what they lack. I don't have enough money. First of all, if you focus on what you lack, you're going to get more of what you focus on, a lack. If you focus on what you're grateful for, and I wake up every single morning and I do not get out of bed until I've stacked my gratitude, and it takes me at least a half an hour. I am grateful for the people who have wronged me in life because they taught me a lesson. That was the tuition I paid for the lesson I learned. And I'm grateful for them. And I said that is the single biggest thing, because I see things in a different way now. And I joked around, I gave an example. I went to the gym last week, early last week, Monday or Tuesday. I was at the gym and it's 5 a.m. And I looked around and I thought, everybody here is a champion. Everybody is a champion. It's 5 a.m. You're here. You've already won for the day. Like, you've already decided, I want to show up as the best person, the best version of me. You're already a winner. And there was a woman, and she was using dumbbells. And I'm like, oh, I want to do an exercise with dumbbells. Light, what I can hold. But she had surrounded herself with all these dumbbells. And of course, the ones I wanted to use, she had surrounded herself with. And I looked at her and I said, that's fantastic. She's on a mission. She has a drive. She surrounded herself. I didn't think, oh, she's got the ones I wanted. I looked at her and I'm like, you go. Like, she knew exactly, she knew exactly what she wanted to do. And I thought, she is a warrior. Am I inconvenienced? Hell no. My gym is huge. I went to another room that's also got dumbbells. My gym is massive. It's 2 stories, a city block. The dumbbell I wanted is probably in 4 different rooms. I mean, it was zero inconvenience to me. And I sat there and I looked at her and I said, there was a version of me at one time in my life that I would have been pissed. Look at her hogging them. And I hope she didn't think I was staring at her, because it was such a lesson of where I am today and how I saw her. And that was my first thing. I was like, man, you're a warrior. And that is because I'm grateful that there's nothing I can't do. Everything is available to me. I didn't focus on what I didn't have. I was grateful for everything that was there. My gosh, there has to be hundreds of machines. I mean, Marcia, you've been to the gym across the street.
Yeah, it's huge.
It's massive.
Absolutely massive.
It's
Yeah,
it's uh, it's like it takes up a city block and it's 2 stories.
it's bigger than the Target next to it.
You're right. Target's about one quarter the size of it, and Target's a big store. It's bigger than the Whole Foods. It's that big. So is it a convenience? No. I almost wanted to say, man, look at you go. I almost wanted to compliment her. I'm like, she's on a mission. I don't want to interrupt her. So talking with Edgar, that was the one simplest thing I can do. Now, let me tell you something about Edgar. This is funny because he goes to the gym as I do at 5 a.m. He's in Texas, and he played professional football here in the US, and I said to him, of course, you don't work out with the same intensity as your playing days, do you? And he said, it's a lifestyle. Why would I change? I just don't hit anybody anymore. But I'm still driven to be the best version of me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't, that was his lifestyle. Where I'm going with this, circling around everything, every habit you have started out a decision. Nobody was born with a habit. Every habit you've developed was based on a decision you made, and you reinforced that decision over and over and over again until it became a habit. Right? A person lights a cigarette for the very first time. They're not a smoker. They actually have to light it for the second time too, and the third time. And they probably choke, but they continue to do it until it becomes a habit. Where you're at today is a result of your habits. It's a result of your behaviors. The habits are your behavior, your repeated behavior. That's what it is. And it's easy to make bad habits. We have to learn to love to do the things that love us back. That's developing good habits. That's if it doesn't love you back, it's not a good habit. Eating potato chips, not a good habit. And people say, well, I'm a night owl, stay up at night. That's a habit. There's no science behind night owls or early birds. They haven't discovered that if it exists at all. And there's no science or there's no gene that they've discovered of talent. Right? There's none. There's no talent gene. People who are great at things, it's because they decided to. And they do the things they need to do to reach the goals they want to reach. Earlier I said, you might have caught it. Who do you want to be? Right? Did you catch when I said that? Now, 5 years is coming. Have you decided who you want to be? Well, if you have, your next question is, what would that person do every day? Who do I want to be, and what would they do every day? And start. And write it out. Put pen to paper, write it out. What would that person do every day? What habits would they develop? I heard something funny one time about developing habits and breaking habits. Do you know how long it takes to develop a habit? Anywhere from 15 to 275 days. You know how long it takes to break a habit? Anywhere from 15 to 275 days. It really depends how strong it is. All of our habits ebb and flow. There's times in your life that are very, very strong, and there's times not as strong. That's just how it is. And if you're going to try to break a habit that's very strong, it's going to take a lot longer. And developing a habit, I can tell you this, the first week sucks. The first week's horrible. Let's face it, any habit that you decide I want to do is horrible. The first week, painful. You know what the second week is? Not as painful, still painful. You know what the third week is? Really uncomfortable. Now you're ready to begin the habit. If habits were easy, we'd all have good ones. So yesterday, I'm a musician, right? I play instruments, I read music. And yesterday, oh, you might be able to see it back there. Yesterday, I bought a piano. Do you know what I don't do? Play the piano. You know what I did yesterday? Started developing the habit. You know how great I sounded? Yeah, it sucked. And then on top of it, my hand was an issue. Like my finger's an issue. Tomorrow I'm having half my finger removed. And so I thought, well, I'm not going to have a finger there anyway. So why don't I learn to play without that finger on my left hand? That would be the bass clef. And so now I had to rethink of every chord and how I'd have to hit it without an index finger. I thought this is the perfect time to learn because I certainly don't want to use my index finger. So I embraced the struggle and it was wonderful. I'm like, man, if I could learn now, like this, come Thursday, it's going to be a piece of cake. That would be after the surgery. After surgery, it's going to be a piece of cake because I won't have an index finger there to get in the way. Right now, it's in the way. It's a real pain. No, it doesn't hurt, but I have no control over it. It flops. There's no bone, there's no anything like that, so it just kind of flops around. And yeah. So, all right. Any questions, comments, concerns, curiosities to this point? Does anybody have long-term goals in place? Now, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't have it here. It's upstairs. I wish I had it in front of me. There's something about my long-term goals. It's a little bit different than I do everything else. Now, I have notebooks everywhere, right? Like I have, oh yeah, and I have another one right here. Like I write different things in my notebooks. I talk about that all the time. My goals, though. My goals are in a leather-bound book, right? I date them, I write them down, and I do keep them. I do keep them, but I keep them in something because they're so valuable to me that I want to give them a little extra emphasis. So about a week ago, I looked at earlier goals that I had written back in 2021. Right here we are in the pandemic, and I'm writing goals. And you know what the funny thing is? I read them and I laughed because I achieved every one of them from 2021. I said, look at that. Every single one of them. I had to remind myself I did that. And the ones that I wrote yesterday, I'll read those one day and remind myself that I've achieved that. I've been writing goals forever because it's just what I want the future to be. That's all it is I took, how often do you review your long-term goals? Liz, would you be asking how many times a day I review them? Because that would be the answer. How many times a day do I look at them? How bad do I want them? I don't look at them and put them on the shelf and revisit them a week from now. A day, yeah, I think I've read them twice so far today. So yeah, I read them every single day, multiple times a day, because that is where I focus. That is 100% my focus. My focus isn't on paying bills. My focus isn't on uh, anything else. I read my goals every day. But I'm going to take it one step further. It's not enough to read your goals. What are you going to do about them? What are you going to do about them? You can't just say, I'm going to read them. I'll share, because you've heard me say this in the past. I've been trying to learn Spanish for about 30 years, right? Am I good at it? Not really. And a couple of months ago, I said, you know what? I'm tired of 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I'm going to learn to speak Spanish fluently, where I can go to Mexico and converse without flaw. And I decided to make it an actual goal and not something that's convenient when I want it to be. That gets you nowhere. That's just painful. And so, what can I do about it? Like, what am I going to do about this? How am I going to learn Spanish? It's not like I'm in school anymore. I never took Spanish in school. Never took a language in school. English. I took English in school. I'm pretty good at that one. And I said, well, how can I learn? And it was interesting that I took such an approach where I said, I need to grow my vocabulary. So every day I learn 10 words. And every day I listen to my conversational podcast in Spanish. Every single day now, since I decided to make that. So it's not just I read my goals. What are you going to do about it? One of my goals was to become an accomplished pianist. Now, I've performed on stage playing saxophone. I've been performed on stage playing guitar, and maybe I'm a little ahead because I can read music, but I can only read treble clef. I can't read bass clef yet. So yesterday I bought this piano, and I'm looking forward to performing in an auditorium on stage in front of a crowd. And you know how I bought the piano? I don't know how everyone else does it, but let me walk through my thought process. I went to a store that sold pianos. What do I know about a piano? They got 88 keys. That's all I really know. The black ones are sharps and flats. The white ones are natural. That I know that much. And I do understand triads, things like this. I get that, but I know nothing about the piano. So I went to a store and I'm like, hey, guy, do you know anything about a piano? The music store. And he goes, yeah, I've been selling them for 10 years. I've been playing my whole life. I said, oh, great. What do I need? And then he explained, if you play piano, like I bought electric piano, but he said, you want weighted keys because it's going to give you the most feel to a string piano with a harp in there and the whole thing. I said, okay, is that important? He's like, it's very important. And the only way you're going to get weighted keys is with an 88 key instead of a 61 or 76 or 54, whatever. I said, okay, so I need an 88 key. What else am I looking for? And he walked me through everything, and I was probably there for about an hour and a half, 2 hours. And I said, my goal, this is the only one I'm going to buy. And I'm not going to upgrade 5 years from now. So I need something that I can continue to play. And here's a crazy thing. I didn't make a decision based on money, right? Because that wasn't going to get me what I wanted. Right? If I would have budgeted that, I would have bought the cheapest piano, and it would not have gotten me to where I want to be. Right? That would have been a constraint. And so I'm fortunate I can afford it, but here's the thing. If you don't think you can, you say, then how can I? Right? Money holds people back, right? Let me tell you, you have three things. You have three currencies. I want you to listen to this carefully. You have three currencies in your life. You have knowledge, time, and money. You could use any two to get the third. Is everyone muted? I mean, if you want to talk, then unmute. But if we just got rambling in the background of somebody that's not muted, awesome. But did everyone hear that? You have three currencies: your knowledge, your time, and your money. And you could use any two to get the third. So don't focus on what you lack. Focus on what you have. Be grateful for what you have. You have time, you have knowledge. You can put those two together and get money, couldn't you? You have time, you have money, you can put those two together, get knowledge. Right? Now you're saying, Steve, say I have money and knowledge, how do I get time? If you have money and knowledge, you can own your time. That's it. If you have money and knowledge, you now own your time. You don't, what I mean, if you don't have money, like you're punching the clock, you don't own your time. And when you're going to work for 8 hours a day, you don't own your time. Well, you're using it somewhere else. Your energy is somewhere else. All right. Does anybody got any questions, comments, concerns, or curiosities to this point? Either everyone's stunned or you're just,
I step in as usually because I think it's important to have a conversation with you here once in a while. And for me, those three currencies, I mean, time is something that runs out anyway sometime, and I cannot control it. It's 24 hours a day, but I can actually structure it. Now, when I have the knowledge, and let's say no money, but I have knowledge, how do I create time without having the money to kind of survive?
Wait, hang on. So you have knowledge, but you don't have money and you want time.
Yeah, because if there's no money, I need to do some things to have the money.
Right. So now you say I'm working with one. How do I get the other two?
Correct.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. So if you have knowledge, how valuable are you? I was waiting for someone to actually ask that question. If you have knowledge, how valuable are you? Extremely. If you bring value because of your knowledge, okay, let me propose this to you. Who is one of the most knowledgeable investors in America? Warren Buffett. All right. If Warren Buffett said to you, I will give you X amount of dollars to invest. I'll give you $1 million to invest so you can make money off of it. So you can have his money. Or he said, I want to spend time with you and give you my knowledge so that you can invest. Which one do you take? Warren Buffett is going to give you his knowledge, the greatest investor in America, or his money. Which one do you take?
Me time.
Well, you take his knowledge, right? Like he's going to give
Yeah.
you the knowledge to invest because his knowledge is more valuable than his money. Your knowledge is far more valuable than your money. Your time is the most valuable. We've established that. We've been hammering that home for weeks, right? If I were to offer, if you had a week to live, if you had a month to live and I say, okay, instead of a month, how about I give you $1 billion, but you only get a week? Which one do you take? The week and $1 billion or the month? You take the month. Because 3 weeks is not worth $1 billion. So we know that time is more valuable. And the second thing is we've also established that we have enough time, haven't we? Remember that little exercise we did a number of weeks ago where we said, if your doctor said, hey, listen, if you continue your lifestyle, you only have a month to live. However, if you can remain perfectly still for 1 hour a day for the next 30 days, your life will go on forever. Do you think you can take that and find that 1 hour a day to stand still just to be? Because we have no time now, right? But somehow we'll find that hour. And what if the doctor said 2 hours a day? You would somehow find that time too. Right? So you have the time. It's how do we use our time? You'd be using it in the most valuable way possible. Right? So think about that. If we're using our time in the most valuable way to give us more of it, well, if there's a way to use it with value, then there's a way to use it without value, isn't there? That's called wasting it. Doing low value things that don't bring you where you want. If you said, Doc, I don't have an hour a day, I'm going to watch Game of Thrones instead because that's an hour a day and I'd rather watch that. That'd be a very low value thing to do to use your time. Where the other would give you more time, this one ends your time. But we do a lot of low value things that don't get us to where we want because we don't see our time as currency. It's the most valuable currency, followed by your knowledge. And everyone thinks it's the money. You know what money really is? Money is the applause you get for doing the work. That's money. It's the applause you get. Do the work, you get applause. Don't do the work, you don't get it. But do the valuable work. The work that gets you to where you want to be. Everyone with me on that one. So Walter, how was that?
That's a good insight. Good point
I
to
have
see
a
it that way.
I had a client, and this was a couple of years ago. He's very knowledgeable in business. He's a client of mine. He's been a client of mine for about 5 years. And in fact, he's the guy that I meet with after this one. So somebody had come to him and said, hey, I'm looking into this business venture. It's a business that I've never been in. However, you are in this space and you have a lot of knowledge. So I thought maybe we could partner in this new business venture and we can go in 50-50. I think it should be about $100,000 investment. So each one of us invests $50,000. And my client said to me, what should I do? I said, give him something more valuable than $50,000. Give him your knowledge, give him your time. Go back to him and say, I got a better idea. You put up 100,000, we'll be 50-50 partners, but I'll run it. I have the knowledge to make it profitable. So which would you rather have? My investment of 50,000, I do nothing, or I'll take half, but I'll bring the knowledge, I'll bring the time. And he laughed. He goes, there's no way this guy's going for that. Guess what he went for? So my client has half a business, invested nothing, because he has the knowledge and he put in the time. So it's more valuable than money, just like the Warren Buffett thing. Be great if Warren gave me $1 million to invest for him, but I'd have to give him the $1 million back eventually. What would I really make? Or if I could spend time with him, right? And isn't your time and who you spend it with the most valuable? You become a product of people around you, don't you? You are the sum of the people in your proximity. That's why I constantly say I will brainwash you. I have no doubt about that. I'm not hiding it. It's not a secret. I'll brainwash you into believing in yourself. And to believe in anything is possible. I'm telling you up front. There's no hidden agenda. I will. That's that was my whole thing about doing live events like I'd had a couple weeks ago and doing live events like we're coming up in Savannah, is to brainwash you into believing yourself. When you leave there, you leave with a plan. You leave with the power and the knowledge that you need, and instead of sitting at home, not doing it. If anybody interested in going to Savannah? If you are, Marshall, just you got it at hand. Oh, there you go. You're one step ahead of me. You're thinking with my mind. I was going to say, Marshall, throw something in the chat if anybody's interested. I'm not sitting here selling you anything. Just click on it. If you don't click on it, that's fine too. But let's get back to it. Any questions, comments, concerns, or curiosities? Walter, that was an awesome one. What if you don't have money? Then use your knowledge, use your time. Every person here has so much knowledge in something, in a lot of things. You're great at a lot of things. Do you know why you're great at a lot of things? Do you remember last week what I said? If for those of you who were here last week, do you remember what I said about everything you're good at? Oh my God, do you write anything down? You know why you're good at it? You have failed at every single thing you've ever done in your life. You failed first. Every single thing. You've never done a single thing in your life that you were an expert at the first swing of it. The first swing was failure. Right? Your kid trying to tie your shoes. You made a knot. You didn't exactly get the rabbit ears going, right? You're a kid, you fell down trying to walk. What'd you do? You got back up. Everything you've done, you failed first. That's why you're good at it. Michael Jordan has that famous thing. He's missed 9,000 shots. He's lost 300 games, 26 times. He was left a winning shot and he's missed. And the reason he's successful is because he failed so many times. Going back to the beginning of this conversation, where I talked about avoidance, the fear. What if it doesn't work? You're right. But don't quit. We try to avoid. I don't avoid anymore. You know, avoidance got me nowhere in life. If I made mistakes, oh. And before I get out of bed every morning, I say to myself, what mistakes am I going to make today? Because that's how I learn. That's the tuition I pay for the knowledge that I get. And I think that's a blessing.
I do have a question to that,
Okay.
which is in terms of fear, getting up and do it again. How do I raise my self-confidence instantly to keep on being on the track, to have this fearless going forward?
So the key word there is instantly. I'm not sure that an instant, but okay, you fail at something. What's really happened? You learn how to not do it. So you're not going to repeat the same way. So you're like, okay, that didn't work. It didn't feel good, but it didn't work. Don't do that again. How am I going to figure out how to do it? What's my next approach? And you don't, every failure is a lesson. You've never once learned from being successful. Being successful is a result of what you learned. But you've only learned through failing. And we're so afraid to fail. Because what happens when you really fail? Think about that for a second. What happens when you really fail? What do we fear the most? We fear getting laughed at, right? Loss of reputation. Our ego gets in the way. Last I checked, when you fail at something, nobody cuts off a body part. Unless you're using a table saw and your name's Steve. Oh, I can't wait to use that. I've already been thinking of the things I'm going to say when people go, what happened to your hand? I'm going to go, surf accident, shark came in. Yeah. I'm already thinking of the fun things. But failure is a part of success. And until you accept that, you're not going to have success. It's an ingredient to success. You're going to fail your way to success. Everything you want in your life, you're going to fail your way to get there. I remember I ran a marathon. Don't do that. And I hadn't run since high school. And I went out and bought shoes and I bought running socks. I didn't even know that was a thing. I paid a lot of money for running socks. Didn't make me any faster. I bought the shorts and everything. And I walked down my house and I made it to the end of the block and I'm laying on the lawn dying. I couldn't make it to the end of my block. I'm like, this is going to suck. So you know what I did? Got up and ran again. And then eventually I made it to the end of the next block before I was laying on that lawn. And then I made it all the way to the busy street. And then I made it to the finish line. 26 miles later. But in that journey, it was painful. I'd failed. I'd stepped on a rake and got whacked with it. I had dogs chasing me. There was times I had to run in the rain because there was going to rain for the next 3 days. And there was a lot of failures, but I didn't quit. I kept going. That's why I finished. I succeeded because I'd failed along the way. And let me tell you, running to the end of the block and laying down on somebody's lawn, I'd call that a failure. So, yes, you're going to fail. Is it going to hurt? Yeah, I'm just going to be honest. It sucks. But don't let it stop you. Right? That's just character. That's who you are. Don't let it stop you. You're greater than your failure. Like if you let it stop you, your failure is won. Your failure has become greater than you. Ego is overtaking you. And that's what really holds you back. Afraid of what? What would really happen if you failed? Can you imagine anything right now that you guys are thinking you're venturing to do? What would happen if you failed? And what does failure look like? Right? Does anybody want to jump in that conversation? What do you got planned and what does failure look like if you fail at it?
Well, if nobody else jumps in, I do it one more time.
Excellent. Excellent.
Well, what is on the plan right now is also the taking actually over the Super Yacht Radio, combine it also with other magazines,
Mm-hmm.
use it as a platform for also promote the coachings and other services.
Mm-hmm.
But it will be a challenge actually to install everything correctly that it works. But
Mm-hmm.
I already will start to promote it for getting sponsors on board. But if that fails to actually have the timeline correctly set, they might be upset, those who jump in as sponsors,
Mm-hmm.
because they cannot get out at the time that it will be set.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something, it's a kind of a risk. And
It
I
is a
could
risk.
eventually lose one of them or some of them who wants or actually invest in it. So that's kind of a
It's
risk.
a risk. And you don't want to lose them. But if you don't meet the results that they want, then yeah, you run a chance of losing them. And then you're like, okay, how could I not lose the next sponsor? Well, how is get the results? Okay, what results do they want? How realistic are these results? What can I do to get those results? If the results were you're doing, just say you're going to do the radio show, you need results would be X amount of listeners, right? I think that would be the metric that would define success. Am I correct, Walter?
Yeah, that's part of it. But since I'm going to diversify the content, not only to super yachts, but everything that's in regard to luxury, because people have yachts, obviously have everything else as well. So partly it's the listener, amount of listeners and amount of countries that they are.
Mm-hmm. So if you said, wow, I lost sponsors because I wasn't getting the content out there, I wasn't getting the followers, I wasn't getting the listeners, I wasn't getting the following, I wasn't getting that. You go, well, how do I get it? That's really the question. What do I have to do to get it? You know what, in your space, do you know the first person I think of when I think of super yachts, I think of luxury, I think of all that. The first person I think is Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Do you remember that guy, Robin?
Robin. I don't think so.
Oh, was that an American thing?
Must be.
All right, what other Americans here? What was his name? Robin. He had that accent. No, he wasn't even American. He was English, wasn't he? Look up Lifestyles of Rich and Famous.
Okay.
Oh
Well,
my.
one approach that we actually can do is going to the Global Billionaire magazine,
Mhm.
which is a magazine that addresses the right people. But yeah,
Robin Leach, thank you. So Robin Leach, was he wealthy? I don't know. He got on super yachts. Does everyone know who Robin Leach is? Who, like, I cannot be the only one that would watch this guy.
I saw it. Yeah, I remember.
Okay, you remember Robin Leach. He had an English
Abs-
accent, right? He had
Yes.
a little bit of an accent.
Yeah.
And he dressed well. And he's like, welcome to Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. I always thought that Robin Leach was just rich, but not really. I don't know if he was or not, but man, he hung around on super yachts. He hung around in luxury. I saw it too in Sweden. Right. He was everywhere. And Walter, here's a guy that's to me has paved the way. I would look at Robin Leach and go, what did he do? And yeah, he got on he pretty much was you before you. Like he was the 80s to 90s. He went to people's houses and he had a TV show and he just showed luxury. That was it. Just luxury. And boats and cars and homes, and he promoted luxury. And I was on the impression that he was rich. I don't know, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. He sure came off it. And then he was English, so he's very proper. You know, that plays into it as well. So yeah, just promote yourself. It's promotion, it's marketing, it's branding, and you'll get the people. Put the content out, put the brand out, market it, you'll get the people to follow, and the sponsors will be happy. How cool would it be if you got on one of those super yachts in Florida, one of those massive $300 million, $400 million, like the owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars just bought a yacht a couple weeks ago. Did anybody catch that? The Jacksonville Jaguars is a American football team. And the owner is extremely wealthy. He's not American. I want to say he's Middle Eastern. But this guy flaunts his wealth. And man, if you can get on that boat, if you could get next to him, what that would do, that brand, what it would do is just propel you. So yeah, that's a way of doing it. Your sponsors would be very happy then.
well then I shall reach out to Jackson Jaguars owners.
What's it? Khan, I think is his last name.
Tom
Khan, K-A-H-N.
H-N.
I think that's his last name, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Am I wrong? Am I right? I don't know. They're not a very good team. And I think a reason for that is because it's American football. I don't think he's American. I don't think he really gets American football. Well, it'd be like if I owned a cricket team, I'm pretty sure we'd come in dead last, or a soccer team. You know, I'm pretty sure we'd lose everything. I'd be like Ted Lasso.
Actually, I got him. Shad Khan.
Yeah, that's the guy.
And he also looks pretty nice. I think he's a guy to talk to.
Yeah, give him a call. See if he'll take your call. Work your way. You're only a couple degrees of separation from him. Think about who might know him.
Yeah.
You know, just work your way there. All righty. So before we end it, it's an hour into it. First of all, I hope everybody has a long-term goals in place and start to develop the habits to become the person that you want to be. And that all leads to who you are, and accept that everything you've done so far has led you to where you are. And then that is a good thing, right? Because we're here. And from here, we can go anywhere. So I appreciate everybody being here today and everybody dedicating yourself to your own personal growth, your own self-mastery, your own personal development, setting your own goals, understanding that fear is part of it. Failure is part of it. And that we've failed every single time is something we're good at today, right? man, I hope that hit home for everybody, and to be grateful and to start surrounding yourself with people with the same belief, the same mindset. You're going to become a product of that mindset. So, all righty. Anybody, one last question? We got like a minute. Anybody? Alrighty then. In that case, everybody go out and be amazing today. You guys are already champions. You're already warriors. Go out and show the world how amazing you are. All right. Thank you all for
Thank you,
being here.
Steve.
I appreciate all of you.
Thank you, Steve. See you next time.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye bye.